So this is the Reed Morin Show. So if you guys like the video, please give them a like and a follow on YouTube, all that good stuff. SAS are like SEALs, good in small forces. Action does it all.
So there were some things we saw that were a little bit different. Not to take anything away from those guys. You know, maybe that was the exception, not the rule. But the general feeling is we're probably operating a whole different level. So there, like I said, there is overlap, right? It's not, you know, only SEALs do water and only Delta does this. It's like, no, there's actually some overlap, you know. But not knocking it. You know, it's one team, one fight at the end of the day.
Yes, it
life's
is.
about choices, and I just happened to be in the Army and had the opportunity to be a Delta operator, you know, and I went for it, and never thought I could do it. Never thought it was going to be something, you know, that would ever be offered to me. But I didn't even know who Delta was until I was in 82nd LRP Division, Long Range Reconnaissance Platoon, and we went and trained with. We went to Hereford, England, to train with 22 SAS with their long-range recce teams, and I remember they showed us this video about their selection for the SAS operators, right? And it showed, you know, like they had a group photo of like 100 dudes starting out, all sitting down. Then they showed the video of them going through the mountains, the Beacon Birkins and things like that, and then every day they drew little red X's across guys' faces that didn't make it, you know. And at the end, you know, there's like.
Yeah. Have you guys seen the essay, like the hardest, what is it? Like the world's hardest test. And it's like SAS and I think like an American Navy SEAL. And it's this thing where they can have like, they have like celebrities on that try out the course. It's a show and it's very interesting because like the winners are the ones that make it through all the physically grueling challenges, get through everything. And they're like, you know, the winners of like the outcome. So it's an interesting show. But what he's talking about is well, of course it's inaccurate. It's Hollywood. It's show. It's having celebrities on. You know, none of this is like, some of the challenges are, you know, grueling, or it's a lot of running, or, you know, jumping backwards out of a helicopter head first into the water. Like, of course those are mentally challenging, physically challenging thing. I'm not even sure I would be able to do that outside of a military setting where everyone's lining up and doing it all together. However, the having candidates and then Xing their names is something that they did also in that show. So the fact that he's saying that they do it shows that that's just a little bit of the culture in weeding people out, which, you know, is a little bit different. Yeah, it's like spicy PT. Yeah, little military stuff. You know, it's cool. It's got the cool stuff. I think, you know, they should totally do one where it's, you know, former, you know, military doing it. That would be an interesting thing, you know, get some veteran support out there. But there's nothing, you know, maybe more entertaining than watching a bunch of celebrities do it. At least for me, I enjoyed it. But the X crossing, something they do in here, something he's also mentioning. I just thought that's a cool parallel.
Like, you know, 5 guys left with no X's on their faces. And I go, damn, you know, what was that all about? It's pretty tough, right? And so then I found out we had the equivalent of that, you know.
I was going to say, do you look at SAS as a like one-to-one equivalent if we had to take, or how do you think those two differentiate themselves?
You know, I've trained with them. I would argue, yeah, we model ourselves after them, but I think we are much better than them.
In what ways?
In every way. In every way. Do you guys remember we were taking the map and we had America right here, and then we were measuring the countries? It's in a video. It's in a VOD. It happened a couple days ago. We took what is it? England? Is that where they are? They're in England. And then you put it over, you know, the USA, and it's like this big compared to this. Plus we're the world best military. I mean, come on. Every way. Every way. No coping here. No coping.
Overall performance. So I'll give you an example. We did a joint training exercise. We actually went to England, and they had a urban mock-up. And basically had one building, and they had all set up with targets and everything in there. And so what happened was they sent one of their squadrons to clear the building first, right? After they cleared it, then we went and cleared it also, right? So we hit the target twice. They hit it the first time, we hit it the second time. Well, when we go through the second time, we're looking at all their shots and like, holy shit, what are they shooting this thing with? Like 12-gauge shotgun, birdshot, because there are bullets everywhere, man. You know, I mean, you know, they're not precision shooters. At that time, they weren't. And so we kind of walked out and go, damn, You know, we're very surgical in our shots. We have to be. You know, I mean, you know, you got to be able to print your rounds where you want them, in the heart, in the head, and not all over the damn body. You know, so there were some things we saw that were a little bit different. Not to take anything away from those guys. You know, maybe that was an exception, not the rule. But the general feeling is we're probably operating a whole different level. Probably because one, you know, Delta has an unlimited budget. We got so much money, or they had so much money, you know, we could buy every bell and whistle that we wanted, equipment, you know, so that went a long way to enhancing the unit's capabilities.
The budget, if you're special and you're a golden boy of Uncle Sam, I don't know how else to say it. I mean that in the most respectful way. If you are Uncle Sam's favorite, the budget and the toys that you get, oh boy. Oh boy. I can't even imagine the things you get to play with. I can't even imagine.
We did a lot of research and development. A lot of things you see today in the military, not just the U.S. military, but now foreign militaries, all had its genesis in Delta. I mean, we created a lot of stuff, man. We made SATCOM radios, antennas, even stuff like having the pockets on the jacket. That started with us. You know, we would cut them off of our blouses on the bottom and sew them here because we tuck our pants in. You know, GPS. We actually started with some of the first GPS systems. The M4 mod, the soft mod kit, M4. You know, it's a whole kit now. Rifle, carbine, all the bells and whistles. All had its origins from over there because we used to use the Car 15 and we tried to modify them as best we could because there wasn't an M4 platform yet. And the M4 platform was born out of that. So we created a lot of stuff over there. I've actually made stuff that...
That's interesting. That's actually really interesting because what was our standard issue? It used to be, what, M16s? The M16s? I like this guy's mustache. Oh yeah, he's rocking a gnarly mustache. I think we used to have M16s and now standardized we have M4s. So that's pretty cool to kind of hear the origin story of that. I was always told that we went from M16s to M4s because going through doors, clearing doorways, it's a shorter of a weapon versus its predecessor, which would be kind of like an M16, which if you're going in sideways would be longer than the width of the door. So this is pretty cool. This is pretty interesting. I didn't know that.
See now in was it Black Hawk magazine? It's like, man, I made that, you know. And so, you know, and you know, we just invented a lot of stuff, and suddenly it found itself in Black Hawk magazine, and somebody else was making money off of it, you know. It's kind of funny, but to me, like I said, Delta is the premier counterterrorist unit in the world, hands down. It's not because just all the equipment and the money. It's because the type of guys that are selected, the right guy.
Yeah.
And guys that are, you know, relatively smart. They're problem solvers. They can function unilaterally. They can function as a team. They have that physical prowess that's needed. You're carrying a lot of equipment. You got to be, you know, you got to have some real stamina. And you've got to have, I don't want to call it killer instinct, but there is something unique about the guys in the unit, you know, to know that you're going to go into a room and meet a terrorist head on, you know, and this could be the end of your life. That's something special, man. It sounds easy, but it's not easy. I mean, guys have done it. A lot of guys have done it outside the unit. They do it all the time now, you know, but probably the hardest missions that are going to come out or be offered are going to go to the unit. They're going to give it to the unit. It's like, this is like the one-way trip, and only guys we can.
I'd probably agree with that. Obviously, I don't know anything about it, but I would probably say that basically I don't know how to say it. The things that these guys do are like world changing. That's the thing. Plus, we've had more experience with more stuff versus overseas, which rely a lot on Americans.
as
You
you
know.
guys. So, anyways, it was pretty special, still is. The performance standards are one of the best kept secrets in the Army. Nobody knows what it is. They really keep a tight hold on it because they know that's key. As soon as standard performance gets out, people will start to game it, and then you'll get guys that make it through, probably don't deserve it, but they squeak by, and even guys, sometimes guys did make it through assessment selection, just to be found out later on. It's like, yeah, this guy shouldn't be here. We're starting to see some things that we didn't filter it in the selection, and it's like, hey, you need to go find another job. Thanks for coming, nice try, sorry, but you're not it. So that happens quite a bit too.
Someone gets through the full process and they're still.
Well, the thing is, when I go through this entire selection process, then I go to OTC, which is also a selection. Right, it's another 7 months. A lot of guys wash out of that, and at the end, you've got another board you have to sit through, right? And they go, okay, yeah, looking at your scores, this, that, peer reports, cadres liked you, okay, you're good to go. Report across the hall to your squadron. Congratulations, you're now a Delta operator. And the first thing you do is report to Command Sergeant Major for the squadron. And I remember what mine told me, Jack Alvarez. He's like, all right, you go, Sergeant Comstock, congratulations. He goes, I'll just remind you today that selection is a continuous process. If you can't give me 100%, I don't need you every day. So get out of here. Good luck.
Nice.
Damn, man, it never stops, right? It never stops, man. Selection is a continuous process. We say that because the reality is, guys can be really good. You hit your peak, and then life sets in. You have marriages, you have kids, you have other problems that you weren't ready for, and you got to deal with life issues, personal issues, and professional issues. And unfortunately, it's hard to keep those separate. They overlap, and that will affect your performance. I mean, if you're having trouble at home, look, I've been down that road. You're having marital problems, your wife leaves you, and you're a single parent, it's Delta.
The divorce rate for the military. What is our divorce rate? Military. I'll do active duty. What's the active duty divorce rate, I wonder? Compared to the national average. This is a 2010 study. Navy has the lowest divorce rate, 2.6%. Active duty branches. What does this say? I'm not too sure. Tactical Hive. I don't know if that doesn't sound legitimate. All right, enlisted members versus officers. An enlisted service member was estimated to have a divorce rate of 3.1%, which is higher for the rate of officers. Air Force has the highest divorce rate for enlisted troops, while the Navy has the highest divorce rate for officers. What's the national average, though? I wonder what the national average. And it's saying there's a bunch of different reasons why that could be, to involve like moving every 2 years, deployments, mental health, all that good stuff. That's interesting. Yeah, because honestly, the military is very interesting because it's compared to the military compared to the regular government. So like the American military, for those of you that don't know, if you're in the military, you have rules. There are government rules that don't apply to you, potentially. For example, and there are rules that apply to you that won't apply to the rest of the United States. A common example that I can easily relate to is I was certified as an emergency medical technician for the United States Air Force. I had a civilian National Emergency Medical Technician certification that was recognized all across the U.S. However, on a military base, I could work outside of that scope of practice, meaning my scope of practice was this on a military installation or this while deployed. But if I went and left the base, it would go to this, which is what the standard civilian can do. Now, we have the same certification. However, I had access to be able to do X, Y, Z versus a civilian EMT can only do A, B, C, right? So one very interesting thing about the military is that, in my opinion, it incentivizes marriage. The military incentivizes individuals getting married because when you get married in the military, you get a pay increase, you get increased allowance for housing, and you're even more incentivized to marry another individual in the military because then you both get your salary, you both get a salary increase, you both get basic housing allowance, which is double the allowance. You both get basic substance allowance. And then every time you have a kid, the military also incentivizes having children because financially, up to a certain point, your pay will be increased depending on the amount of kids that you have. So that compared to so even though we're seeing divorce rates might be higher in the military, I think they're probably evening out to the same as outside of the military versus in the military, simply due to the only 1% of the population actually is enlisted, but the United States is huge, so 1% is a lot, and that there actually is an incentive to be married versus outside in like the non-military world. It's kind of not really there's not really a government financial incentive to do so. So even though kind of reading this saying the military has a higher divorce rate, perspective wise, this is a 1% of the American population, and there is incentives to become married. There is financial gain when being married. There is support when being married. You know, you have healthcare. You have a whole bunch of different stuff. So also, when you get married and you have a kid, there's even more of an incentive because if you're married and you're both active duty members and the wife gives birth, 1 year after she gives birth to that child, either parent, I believe it's either parent, I don't think it's just the mom or the dad, a year after the child is born, can exit the service with an honorable discharge. So not only are you incentivized to be married, you're incentivized to have kids, you're financially incentivized, and then also, if you do, you are at the ability to wish to leave honorably if you so choose. So, talking about divorce, yes, it's high, but marriages are also high. Is that a skew? Is it not a skew? Who knows? Just interesting.
The operator gets kind of challenging, right? How are you going to be a single parent, you know, and be a Delta operator? You know? And I can tell you from personal experience, it doesn't work out very well.
You can't do it, unfortunately.
But again, that's life, right? And so.
Oh, is that it? Oh, interesting. Okay. I wasn't expecting it to end right there. I was sold. I was sold on what was happening. Wait, I need to know more. Okay, if you guys wanted to know, this was the Reed Morton show. This was Delta Force versus SAS. We're better, Dale Comstock.